Well, this is to whoever's going to be installing this sculpture, Brad and family. I just wanted to explain components and kind of how it goes back together. Since we installed it initially, of course, it's been moved to a couple of different locations, and I just want to make sure that it's easy for any installer to work their way through. And also, feel free to give me a call if there's any questions after this little video. Just want to explain some of the components and how they function. This is the first pin that goes in the top where the cable goes. It has a set screw in here that allows you, and we're gonna do kind of a mock setup of this in the wall, just so you can visually see what's going on. And here's this goes down and holds onto the cable. Well, these little sleeves here, the little tiny copper sleeves, are crush sleeves, so that you slide that and put that on, and I'll show how that'll happen. And this little aluminum bead here is just a shortened little crimp bead that will allow you to have a safety crimp at the end of the wire. So, and there's extras here. So there's 4 in the, well, actually I'll send you three. I'm going to use one with the demonstration. And so this cable is the cable that goes into the top of the sculpture. And there's a set screw that gets screwed into it. And I made this little tool here. It's like a little spanner that goes in so that you can go ahead and screw that down into the sculpture and it gets below the surface. So that's what this little wrench is for. This has been silver soldered with a big crimp on that, which is the stop. And there's your main cable that will come off the wall, and you'll be working on this end. It'll also come with a small Allen key that fits all of these three different set screws. And so now we'll just move to the wall, and I'll show how all these components go together. So the hole that goes in should probably be in line with the vertical, so that when you pull the wire, you can go up with it. And just checking the cap, see it hits the wall, so all that's good. And then those get tightened eventually over, but that little slit is where the cable should come out right here. And that's right there, that little slit. So that should be down. This is what connects to the sculpture itself and suspended, and I've already shown it before, but this is a aluminum crimp with the ball that's been silver soldered on that side. And so this is what would normally be hanging down. But for this demo, I'm just going to use another piece of wire to show how everything is going to be rigged. Here's the standoff to move the sculpture away from the wall. Here's the pin that goes in the wall. There's this fits in there so that'll still rotate. And this right here has a screw on it that will also capture the wire. And it'll make sense once I put all this together and you get to see how it works. So the way this would work would be the cable would be loose up here with extra slack, and then you determine how high the sculpture needs to be hanging, and that would be where you would leave this component at the height that you want it. So this would be your cable, but we're just going to demonstrate how all this goes together up top. So this screws into the top of the sculpture, and this would run through this. This is loose, this twirls for a reason, and it goes through that hole. That's the first thing you do. Copper sleeve on first. And then comes this aluminum sleeve, and it's got to hide underneath this collar. So this goes in with a little extra wire there, sticking out, and then I'm going to do a firm crush. I'm going to rotate the tool and sort of round this over more. The next crush. Sort of makes it a little more compact, a little smaller, and that's not planning to go off anywhere. You do want to trim this a little bit, a little closer so that the other sleeve will work, your cover will work all the way down. So I just got that started. Bring this down so that that sleeve is stuck up in there, and that actually helps to soften the blow of cranking this down with the set screw. I'd give it a really firm crush, pretty stiff. I will be sending this Allen key with everything. You put a little pressure on that, and then you sort of get this level, and then screw this in, hand tightened. That's why this needs to be loose like it is. There's your hand tighten, that part of it. If you want the sculpture to hang in an attitude, then you just loosen this part of it, rotate the sculpture where it's on the cable, a little bit of tension, and then crank this back down onto the cable. The only part needs extra set of hands to hold the sculpture while you're doing this, and also that's when you'd be screwing that little into the cable that has the set screw into the top of the sculpture. So if you want to change the attitude, you just take and put a little distance right in here. Here's this little button right here allows you to turn the sculpture from one way or give a different orientation.